Take your hot cross buns to the next level with these soft, delicious hot cross Cinnabuns. It's a twist on a classic Easter treat. Let's get started. The first step is to make an enriched dough. To a mixing bowl or cup, add warm milk, warm water, a tablespoon of sugar, and yeast. Give this a good stir and then allow it to proof for about 10 minutes. And while that sits, it's time to get started on the other ingredients. To my mixing bowl, I've added all-purpose flour, salt. I'm also adding cinnamon and nutmeg. The dough will essentially have the flavors of a hot cross buns. You can also add orange zest for even more flavor. And hot cross buns is a sweet dough, so you're going to add sugar to the flour mixture. Add melted butter, which has been given some time to cool. You're going to add the yeast mixture, and this is what it should look like. Add 1 beaten egg, and then you're going to mix it. I'm going to mix this using my stand-up mixer for approximately 10 minutes, but you can also knead it by hand. And I'm going to prepare my baking pan. I'm just simply rubbing softened butter all around the baking pan. This ensures that the bread does not stick as it bakes. And since this is like a cinnamon roll, cinnamon bun, we have to make that cinnamon filling. So to a bowl, I am mixing together white sugar and ground cinnamon. I also like to add a little bit of flour because this prevents the filling from running out of the dough and just settling to the bottom of the pan. And just give it all a good mix and set aside. Now, once the dough has mixed for about 10 minutes, I'm going to turn it out onto my counter. And I'm not using any flour. You should not knead it. And I'm just going to knead it until the dough is nice and smooth, and I'm going to form it into a ball. And this should not take too long. If it's kneaded long enough, then this should literally just take about a minute or so. And as always, I will have the recipe linked below in the description box. And this is essentially what you're looking for. I'm going to place it into a greased bowl and then cover it loosely with cling wrap. Place it in a warm place. For me, that's my stove, and allow it to rise until it's doubled. This should take approximately about an hour. And I'm just going to punch it in the middle just to deflate the dough and then turn it out onto my counter. And again, we're not doing the traditional hot cross buns, but you are going to have the flavors that is reminiscent of a hot cross bun. And I'm just going to roll this out, and I'm going to roll it fairly thin and into a large rectangle. Once I've rolled the dough nice and flat, it's time to start on the filling. And I'm using room temperature butter, and this is unsalted butter. And I am just going to spread it all across the surface of the dough. You want to go from edge to edge. And it's important for the butter to be room temperature and not cold. If it's cold, it would not spread like this. Next, I'm going to take that cinnamon sugar mixture, and I'm just going to sprinkle it all across the top. Again, you want to make sure it's completely covered with the cinnamon. Now, the next step is completely optional. I'm adding raisins, but if that's not your thing, you can absolutely leave it out. It is totally up to you. Starting at one end, I am just going to roll it tightly into a log. And just to give you an idea of sweetness, this is essentially going to be just like a hot cross buns. It's not going to be too overly sweet, and it would be something that you can enjoy in the morning with a cup of tea or something of the sort for breakfast. To measure out each Cinnabon, instead of cutting into it right away, just gently score the surface using your knife just to ensure that each Cinnabon is going to be equal in size. And this recipe makes 12 hot cross Cinnabons. Now gently cut where you scored and try not to press down on it. You want to make sure that the buns maintain their shape. And it should look just like this. Look at that beautiful swirl. And I'm just going to repeat the process until I've cut all 12 of the Cinnabuns. Place it into the baking pan, and these are going to need to rise a second time. So cover with cling wrap and place back into a warm place. At this point, I would have preheated my oven, and I'm just going to place this on my stovetop until the buns swell and fill the pan. Remove the cling wrap and place in the oven that's been preheated at 375 degrees. These are going to bake for about 25 minutes. And look how perfect those are, but we're going to make it even better. Hot cross buns typically has a sweet sticky glaze. For that, I'm going to brush the tops with apricot preserves that's been melted in the microwave for just a few seconds. Now, since we're using an icing cross, this has to cool completely, so set this aside for about 2 hours. To make the icing, to a bowl, mix together milk with powdered sugar. And you want the icing to have a fairly thick consistency because you want it to hold its shape as you pipe it onto the hot cross Cinnabuns. And this is the consistency that you're looking for. Place the icing into a piping bag. If you don't have a piping bag, you can simply place it into a small Ziploc bag. Now, once I've got all of that icing into the bag, I am just going to push it down towards the end and just twist the open side so it's closed and secure so none of that icing squeezes out that side. And I'm just going to snip a hole at the end. The size of the hole is going to determine the size of your cross. To form the cross, I'm going to squeeze the icing across the center of the hot cross Cinnabuns. And I'm going to repeat this process with the other 2 rows. And then you're going to repeat the process, but just do it from the other side to form the cross. And if you can, let this sit for about 10 minutes just so that that cross gets a chance to set. And that's it. You have a soft, fluffy, and packed with cinnamon. These are a must try. Let me know if you're going to make them this Easter. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for joining me. If you've enjoyed this recipe, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to share it. For more delicious recipes like this, please be sure to subscribe. The full recipe will be linked below in the description box and it's on my website, Jehan Can Cook, and I will see you guys in the next one.